can't hear because I don't have these on. I was like, how come I can't hear? Because I don't have my earplugs.
You got kind of crazy there for a moment.
Oh my goodness, dude! I'm nervous, man.
What?
I can't believe I landed this interview, man. Oh shoot!
What is that?
Tablet. It's my tablet. That's off for. Dude, we're wasting time, man. Because I'm too cheap to buy the premium version of Zoom, so it's gonna cut us off at 40 minutes. So we got to kick this interview right now. Okay. Let me get my show notes here really quick.
Wow, you got a show note and everything?
Oh man, nothing but the best. Nothing but the best for the best, brother.
Serious.
Okay. Hold on, podcasters. Okay. I think we should start off with chee-hoo! All right, dude, the kids are sleeping right now. It's like 9 o'clock here.
Wait,
okay.
9? Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're the East Coast. So, chee-hoo, my brother. Man, you're going to have to keep me focused because, one, I'm too cheap to buy the premium. I go on rabbit trails. I'm long-winded, and it's been 18 years since we've talked face-to-face.
Yes.
So just keep me.
I think we don't have to keep it all together. Let's just have fun.
Okay. Well, I think we should. Good evening, FABcasters. Welcome to the FABcast. This is a special episode because I have my good friend with me, Ernesto Segismundo.
Woo!
So you're throwing up shock because let's explain to the FABcasters why we're talking kind of funny here. Where are you from?
Oh man, I mean originally,
man.
Originally, okay, so originally, first of all, for those of you who are listening, Ryan and I have been friends for a long, long time. We haven't talked in how many years now?
18.
Holy crap, 18 years.
Face to face.
So we're going to be pretty scattered and all over the map here. But to answer Ryan's question, I'm originally from Hawaii, and I'm going to try to speak properly. Right?
Okay. First rabbit trail. We were in Hawaii in our church and got stuff the Poly Highway. Anyways, I hosted the Mele night, right? The music night, and old grandma came up to me after white lady. She came up to me after the show. She's like, "You speak your English is so well," and I was like, because she was expecting me to be like pidgin, and I was,
bro.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, do you like me for talk pidgin?" But anyways, it took me like 3 minutes to be like, what is she talking about? Oh, she's expecting me to be all like kapakai, bro.
Yeah, because your skin is brown. That's what we, anybody in Hawaii, when you go up to them, if your skin is brown, they're going to assume that you speak pidgin. So, I'm from Kauai. When I left, you remember when I first, was in California? I mean, my English was so bad.
Yeah, man. You had the frosted tips.
I had the 90s frosted tips, and by that time, I think I cut off my mullet. So
yeah, man. You had the ehu mullet.
I had the ehu mullet. So fast forward 98, I ended up living in California and met this crazy dude right here in front of me, right. Ryan.
Right, man. So I thought you were from Waipahu for some reason.
No, actually Kauai, which is worse. Just kidding.
I thought like a Waipahu, Waimanalo, something with a W. Anyways, no. All right. So, man, let me see. Let's just jump straight into that. No, let me go back to this. So what are you all about now? What was your calling in life?
Yeah.
Let the FABcasters know what you're doing.
Absolutely. So I am actually a licensed marriage and family therapist, licensed here in California. And I have a group practice where I have employees who also do counseling. And so the things that we do here is provide mental health services for families on the brink of divorce. We have kids and individuals who struggle with traumatic symptoms. And so we provide all kinds of services for that. On the other side of it, we're also a faith-based counseling service. So we don't preach, but we also integrate, if our clients want to, some spiritual aspect of the treatment process. So that's what I do now.
LMFT.
Yes.
Real quick.
Yeah.
How does a person become an LMFT, licensed family
Sure.
therapist?
Sure. I think back at Biola days where we both graduated,
Yeah.
undergraduate, you have to take a psychology course. So I was a psychology major, but you would have to go through your master's degree after that in clinical psychology. So that's what I went through. I mean, at Biola, you and I had those conversations, right? We were therapizing each other. I mean, we were therapizing everybody. And I didn't know it was actually a profession, not until I worked at a group home facility and I was getting my master's at the same time. That's when I started realizing that there's this whole other new world out there.
Yeah. That's when we used to call it psychology.
Psychology, yes.
So I got your resume right here, man. It's robust. Licensed marriage family therapist, adjunct professor at Hope International University, adjunct professor at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, owner of FYLMIT.com if you really want to spelling it, and then owner of CAV Family Therapy Incorporated.
Yep.
That's what you're just talking about.
Exactly.
So you're basically legit.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. If you say so, sir.
No, sir. Seriously. You've been practicing psychology since when you were a bona fide therapist?
Sure. 2003, I believe. That's when I started working at a group home facility.
Yeah.
And I started my journey as a therapist from 2003 until now.
Yeah.
And so I worked with a lot of the adolescent population in the gang unit. I worked there.
What city?
This is in Orange County, California.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's
gangsters, like we were talking Mexican gangsters, Asian gangsters.
Oh, it was all over the map.
Yeah.
It was all over the map. And basically a lot of them have gone through traumatic incidences. So, shootings and disruption in the family, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, man, that's intense. What people usually see about Orange County is they think of the show, the OC, or something like suburbia, white suburbia. But there are some there's some bad areas.
And,
absolutely. And spiritually speaking, the enemy knows no address, so they don't.
No. Oh, I love that. Knows no bounds and knows no address as well too.
Not prejudice, man. Wherever there's people. So let's go back to the 90s. Okay, so I wanted to talk about three things here. One, the concept of community, and then within that, the concept of confession, and then talk a little bit about forgiveness. So those are the three topics I have to squeeze into this thing. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this. So, gosh, man, 18 years ago, we met at Biola University in this awesome Filipino club called Maharlika. Filipino club. Yeah, man, you came into my dorm and you frosted my tips. Yeah. Didn't turn out too well.
Do you really have to say that out loud, that I used to do that for you? Come on, Ryan.
Yeah, man. We were all into NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and watching you guys on Say What Karaoke on MTV.
Yep, that's
another episode. I have the CD right here.
You didn't.
I need to. That's okay. I gotta focus here. So 15 years. You told me something in 1998 or 99 that took 15 years for me to process and for it finally to click. And so a little context here. I lived in the dormitory called Sigma Chi, which was everybody got their own room. It's private. Everybody got their own suites. And then you lived on the other side of campus called Stewart Hall, which was
ghetto.
Yeah, ghetto. Like five or six guys in a room.
No air conditioning sometimes.
Times 4. So there was like four, and all shared the same hallway. So it was like sardines. And I remember one time when I visited your dorm, you were the RA, you were the resident assistant, and then you were on your like Macintosh, like the colorful ones. And I just remember you turned to me, you go, this is about community. That's what you said. Mm-hmm. So fast forward 15 years, I'm living in Hawaii. And for the first time, we experienced community. In community in the sense of we were fully known by our friends in our community group, and they loved us anyways. and we would do things like, I don't know, there was just no holds barred. We'd throw stuff on the table, and at first it was like, wow, and then the other side was like, me too. And then I became fully known by my wife there too as well. So it was just God was moving so much. And then I said, oh my gosh, where have I heard this before? This is what Ernesto was talking about. And I did the math 15 years ago. So what were you talking about when you told me this is about community? What were you thinking about?
So I think back then, I was already a bona fide extrovert. And what that
Okay.
means is that I gained a lot of my energy and my self-esteem, who I was, from the reflection of the community. And that's a very powerful thing,
Right.
because as we grow up, we see our own world through the eyes of other people. Community is a really, really broad topic, but when you get down to it, it's basically a group of individuals that are vulnerable enough and are safe with each other.
Okay.
And when you think about it from that perspective, fast forward to now, it has a lot of psychological implications where within the community, you develop more of who you are. And what that means is that the more connected you are with other people, the more connected you are with yourself.
Okay.
And, developmentally, we are figuring ourselves out. And just as you heard those words from me, fast forward to now, it's resonating. That's what community does.
Yeah.
They help you to grow. They help you to be better. Now, it depends on what community you're in, obviously, right? If you are in a community that constantly highlights your weakness, you will grow up and you will become weak. But if you are within a community that focuses and brings out the best side in you and focuses on your strengths, you will become a whole person. And I think, remember, what sin does is it breaks up all of our parts, right? And we become confused and chaotic. And when we are a little bit more in tune with community, we are more able to receive the blessings of God, because that's where God talks within this healthy, beautiful community. So I know it's a little bit long-winded answer for you, but this is definitely where I see what I meant at that time and what I mean today about community.
Yeah. So I learned, actually I tested on the Myers-Briggs test, 100% extrovert. So I'm living in a dorm that was pretty privatized.
Yes.
But I strategically picked the first one in the hall and then propped the door open. And my roommate was totally introverted, always sleeping. But I'm like, hey, this is just, my room was open 24/7. So my question was, we all need community. Is it fair to say that we were created for community?
We are.
I mean, God is a community within himself, right? Within the Trinity. Right. So should people be living in Sigma Chi, or should that Christian university sort of get rid of that model and go to all Stewart type models?
Well, not necessarily, because when you think about community aspect, it's about being around people who make you become better, right?
Okay.
Who continually have your back. That's who you need to get connected to. We have that internal need to look for that individual, that community to be connected with. There are some people, obviously, that is going to want to be by themselves, and that's okay. But we were not meant to be completely alone in our lives.
Yeah.
And in fact, being completely alone creates a lot of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And being around a lot of people all the time will create depression and anxiety as well too, right?
Yeah.
But what the bottom philosophy for community, or at least what I think about community, is this idea that when you're around people and you're stressed out and you just want to be around people, or you're struggling with something, you want to be able to take that outside of yourself, right? You don't want to hold all of that pain within you. The community is supposed to be there to carry that pain with you.
Yeah. Joined at the hip, baby. together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, I could pick your brain about one last thing, a community, then we'll shift to the next topic. What if someone says, I took these personality tests and I'm just introverted. I just don't like to be around people, and go, quote unquote, going to church drains me, and I just would rather hang out here in my little dormitory and not be around people. What do you?
So there's a few ways to kind of look at that. One, I don't want to deny the fact that people get drained completely as an introvert, because I know that for a fact. I know a lot of my clients struggle with being around people. However, one question I would have for them is it really being drained of your energy being around people, or are you afraid of being vulnerable in front of people? So here's some of the questions, right? So to be in a community means to be vulnerable. To be in a community means to be fully yourself. And that is a very scary thing to be and to do in front of other people, right? I mean, if you want people to help you, you have to ask for help. And that's a scary thing to do, right? Even because you're showing things about yourself, parts about yourself that it's not attractive, right?
Yeah,
Especially
that's
if
right.
you're a man, right? If you're a man, it's messy. No one wants to see your messiness. And that's what we think inside. But when you're with a healthy community, that's what they want to create that a safety for. They create that safety for you to be vulnerable, for you to be your full self and find that support. So it doesn't have anything to do with being extrovert or introvert. It has a lot to do with, do you want to choose to be vulnerable? Because vulnerability is scary as heck.
Yeah, to be transparent and vulnerable. Man, that is so good. Got to switch on to the next topic. By way of transitioning, what's your favorite book on community?
Oh my goodness, you're gonna put me on the spot like that, huh? Because I don't
man,
remember.
it's a real interview.
Oh my goodness, I gotta get back.
Okay.
I gotta get back to you on that one.
So let me save you. Check this one out. Becoming a True Spiritual Community by Larry Crabb.
Oh my God, Larry Crabb?
Do you endorse this? This is good stuff, man.
Dude, yes. I'm gonna get on my Amazon right now and get.
Oh, dude, and now watch this. Connecting by Larry Crabb. These are gold. I devoured these. So Connecting by Larry Crabb. Becoming a True Spiritual Community by Larry Crabb. And then here's one. Here's more recent one called Community by Brad House. He was part of the Acts 29 Church Planting Network. I mean, when I read, look at all my tabs here.
That's what I know about you. I mean, you are an avid student. Always been a student.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, I figured I'll never stop learning. I might as well get it on paper.
Exactly.
So I'm doing a doctorate right now. I feel this is like, I was like, dude, I'm never gonna stop learning, so I might as well get this on paper. So my doctorate is about freedom. Hence, I have all these books here about freedom. So I'm on a roll with interviewing. Man, I hit up Rebekah Lyons. If Rebekah Lyons is listening, she just wrote a book called You Are Free. It's something like You Are Free, becoming who you already are. Anything has to do with freedom, I'm hitting people up.
Exciting time.
Yeah, that'll be in the future. Next topic here. How much of your counseling deals with the concept of forgiveness?
I gotta say this, and a lot of my colleagues who are in the secular world would probably argue with me on this fact, but every single client that I have, and I think every single client that we come across with that struggles with any type of trauma, any type of relational conflicts, have elements of unforgiveness, resentment in there. And one of the hardest conversations to have with people is the idea of forgiveness. And I really truly believe, and it's safe for me to talk about this on this type of podcast, because in other places it's not accepted. But I would venture to say that forgiveness is the healing part of the journey in any of my counseling sessions. Now, I'm not going to be overt and go, hey, you need to forgive the person that sexually abused you, right? Or you
Okay.
need to forgive that individual, but at least have conversations like, what would it be like for you if you explored this idea of forgiveness?
Okay.
And you feel all this energy in the room. That is what we're trying to explore. Now, like I said, I'm not going to push people to forgive, because I think that's a very sacred and spiritual movement towards healing. And not everybody can get to that point. In fact, I remember writing an article a long time ago. I got to look for it, but it's on the power of forgiveness. And a lot of people felt uncomfortable with that, because they were like, well, you've never been sexually abused. You've never been physically abused. So how can you talk about forgiveness? Well, yes, that is absolutely true. I don't want to compare any of my pain to other people's pain, but I can tell you for a fact that we are much bigger than our situations. We are created for community. And I think, and I truly believe that forgiveness is the way to healing.
Yes. Does a person have to forgive to begin the healing process?
They would have to have a conversation. They would have to at least have a conversation to get to that place, even if it's painful. So let me give an example. I had a client a couple of weeks ago who discovered that wife was not faithful. And so we had these conversations, and he was in pain. And 2 weeks later, I'm just this week, I'm asking him, so what would it be like for you to extend forgiveness? Oh my gosh, you could see his veins pop out. Because of the anger that he felt. Me actually saying that, how could you? You're this and this and this. I'm like, well, all right, let's back up just a little bit. But at that pivotal moment, I insinuated and having this tough conversation about forgiveness. Because he was not happy with himself. He was not happy with life, right? And he was carrying so much heaviness with his resentment that it was affecting everything about him. So absolutely, we must have that conversation.
So my wife played this clip for me. The show The View, and The View featured Chrissy Metz from the series This Is Us with Mandy Moore. It's the show about triplets. Have you seen that show?
I keep hearing about it. I'm gonna watch it one of these days.
I mean, you don't have. We don't watch much, but this is, anyways. Chrissy Metz, she wrote a book about loving herself, and so she's obese, and on the show she plays someone who's obese, who struggles with obesity, and then she's in a support group. But she's featured on The View, and then Joy Behar, Behar, she's one of the hosts. Chrissy was awesome. She's talking about how her stepfather used to punch her in the gut and just abuse her as a kid. And so she talked about the freedom of forgiveness. And she said, I'm paraphrasing it. I'll put the link in the show notes, but she says, you can forgive everybody for everything. And Joy Behar comes out back strong. She says, well, I don't know about that. There's something that's not worth forgiving. And I wish I could just crawl into the TV and be like, what are you talking about? Because not to forgive is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. And forgiveness is like setting a captive free to only realize that you are the captive. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm sharing with our listeners all these.
No, you're absolutely right, because a lot of people are so stuck in their pain, right? And categorizes all of these areas of forgiveness. I mean, we see people all the time who forgive people for murdering their child. Or, I mean, how can you even think about that, right? And for people to say, I'm going to forgive someone who took someone else from me and did it in a very, very inhumane manner. That is spiritual. So Joy Behar, unfortunately, did not have the spirit to even say that out loud, right?
Which breaks our heart.
Right. And And that's a very strong statement where you limit the power of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that's not our place.
Yeah.
And for people standing up and saying, yeah, I can forgive, you can forgive everyone and everything, to say that out loud is very spiritual.
Yeah.
And I think people who are connected to God can understand that. You don't have to be Christian or whatever, but there is that God in us. He's always going to remind us that, okay, you think too small, okay? But I, who created everything, I can inspire you to forgive even the most heinous crime.
That's right. Yeah. No, that is so good. I've shared my story, bits and parts here. Won't get into it here, but I've forgiven everybody. Every slate wiped clean. And I think it was I think it was Neil Anderson the first person I heard say, to not forgive is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies, because they might not even be aware.
Nope.
So I am in full agreement with you that everybody I talk to, because we're human and we've been hurt, we live long enough. I mean, my kids, they haven't been alive for that long, and they've already experienced things where they need to forgive. Or I tell them, it's Elsa teaches us how to forgive. It's to let it go, let it go.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Afie me, boom.
Yeah.
So for the deception for someone to say, well, not that. Oh, heck no. I'm not forgiving that. You can't believe what they did. It's, it breaks my heart. So one thing you said that brings something else to mind. Other people have told you, as you just said, like, well, what would you know about this? This has never happened to you, particularly sexual abuse. I just read a book I read it 3 times, called Healing for the Wounded Heart by Dr. Dan Allender. Have you read it, any of his stuff?
No.
He's real good. His friends with John Eldridge. I guess some connections to actually, this Larry Crabb calls him his best friend. He would say, I would beg to differ. I wonder if there's anybody out there who hasn't been. And so his theory was, he used pornography, for instance. He says people don't just stumble upon that. If there's a chance they might just find pornography just laying on the street, but chances are someone gave that to them, put it in their hands. He goes, and so that, my theory is this is Dr. Allender speaking, that's a form of sexual abuse. For parents not to have boundaries in the house. He gave an example of, like, these parents were exposing themselves, and they were never decent in the house, and so that's a form. And then someone turned it around to him as he was speaking. They said, have you ever been? No, his friend was with him, and he says, this is in the book, have you ever been abused in that way? And then Dr. Allender says, no. And then his friend says, well, have you ever been uncomfortable in a situation? And then instantly came to his mind 4 situations, one at a camp where a guy was forcing himself on him, and like 4 real scenarios that were legitimate sexual abuse cases. So his thing is, like, there's probably a lot of people out there who have been, but just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very sacred. Yeah. Anything, in that area, sex especially, it's a very sacred topic, and having conversations about those things is difficult for many people. So when you say things like forgiveness, talking about forgiveness in the context of someone who's experienced sexual abuse, it's a very vulnerable and sacred thing, because it's powerful, right? It's a very powerful thing. Yeah.
So I had 3 topics. One other one, I skipped it. Let's go back to it. Confession. What is confession, and what is the role of confession in the midst of community? We kind of touched on it, but let's just go back and unpack it.
Right. So with the context of confession, in order to be healed, there's a few things that I think needs to happen. One, Confession is basically one of those things where you allow people to hear the pain, right? You allow people to go, by you verbally saying things out loud to someone about a certain offense or a confession or a situation, you are declaring that that is whatever you just said is what we need to focus on and what needs to be out there, right? Confession is a very powerful thing because, again, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to let everyone in the room or whoever it is in front of you know the pain, okay? And know the problem. And that can be scary because once you confess, there's a few things that might happen. And one of them is called rejection. So if you confess, someone you are subjecting yourself to rejection.
Right.
Okay. Rejection is something that is antithetical, or that's not even a word.
It's okay. You're legit. You can make up words.
Anti-relational, because when you are telling someone about something that's incredibly vulnerable, you are expecting someone to take you in despite the trash that you've been through, right?
Sure.
But when you confess, you are risking yourself to be rejected, and that's a very anti-community approach, right? It's anti-community, and it could actually break you. So let me give an example. When you tell a friend that you've taken money from them, okay, and you confess that, they can either go, okay, that's painful, that is incredibly, you betrayed me, but let's work towards healing, or you've betrayed me, how dare you, get out of my life. Rejection. That's a scary thing. That's why confession is not easy. It's better to lie because it's self-preservation.
In their eyes.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Man, hey, Ryder, you want to say hi? My son is like peeking his head over here. It's his bedtime now.
Let's see.
Yeah. You know what? What bigger lie is there that we should fear other people?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would bounce back to, this is why I would make a good team, and we should open up a practice together one day.
Call it out loud, sir.
I am stuck. Yeah, man. I like to work. Before, when I was prideful and arrogant, I'd be like, oh, those psychologists.
Oh no, I remember.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for you guys for praying for my salvation. But like working together, one team, one fight. The spiritual aspect I'd add to that is like, man, we weren't created to fear.
No.
I'm doing a lot of study in the Imago Dei, Genesis 1:26 and 27. Like, I even tell my kids, instead of berating them on something, I'm like, well, we were never created for that. We're never created to be. So my daughter will do this, the 6-year-old, she'll like, I have to confess, I meant to hurt my sister. She'll say stuff like that, and we'll say, thanks. That must have been so scary, but you pushed through, and thanks for being brave. And anyways, that's all good stuff. So we're right about at 38 minutes. And my friend, I love you so much, brother. Like,
thank you, Ryan.
A source of wisdom, truth, and encouragement, love, and joy towards me. And I hope one day we can work together when I open up a coffee shop back in California or something.
Oh man, let's make it. Let's make it cross-cultural. I mean, cross-country.
Yeah. So anything you want, any parting words for our FABcaster listeners?
Absolutely. One of the things that I do want to say is that there will be times when you are forced to step outside of your comfort zone, and we make a lot of narratives in our heads, make up a lot of stories in our head that the other side is horrible. The other side is much more scarier. But remember, our brains are created to also tell stories. And when Satan comes in, he will perpetuate and give you certain narratives about that story that is much more scarier than you think.
Yeah.
I want you to remember this. Community.
You got 50 seconds.
Okay, community, forgiveness is one thing that you have to move forward towards. And you've got a lot of support, basically. And Ryan, I'm so proud of you for doing this. And you're doing a lot of great work for the community, and more power to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Ernesto. This is not the last time you'll be on the show. We'll have you as a frequent guest.
Did I make it?
Yeah, man. We got to have you. Maybe we can rendezvous in Hawaii.
I would love that.
Yeah, man. Eat some poke, and broke them out. All right. 15 seconds, FABcasters. I'm going to put all the information about, I'll put your resume on the show notes. We'll put some of the links we're talking about. And I guess I'll have the parting words. Live in community, live fully known, fully loved. Peace out.
Boom.